Get in on the action this season with Underdog's Pick'em game. Select higher or lower between 2 and 8 players and compete for up to 325 times your entry. Use code DIRECTOR when signing up to receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick. Go to Bolt Fam, it's the Director. Chargers fans, it is that time of year again. Time for speculation, overreaction, and maybe a little bit of hype. As OTAs, first week, man, in the books, the Chargers hit the fields with some of their new players. And some players in new roles and storylines like Tart. Might he be the new Puna Ford of the 2025 season? We got rookies galore to talk about. Man, Naji Harris looked awesome, man. There's a lot of good things coming out of OTAs in regards to his plan, what he could be this year. But man, dude, one of the biggest things I think I'm most excited about, and all it took was a little hit, right? Just a little bit of a preview for me to get absolutely jacked about the running back position, man. Wow, dude. We're gonna go over all the things we're hearing from training camp, all the fun news and speculation that we're learning about this team as they're getting in sync, as they're getting ready for the season. And there's going to be a lot more stories to come, but let's get everybody caught up with the events of this week and start following some storylines that should be pretty entertaining as we await the kickoff in September. I should say even July 31st. I'm excited for that Hall of Fame game. Most people are going to write it off. We're going to be there live and excited to experience it. Before we do kick things off, man, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog. Use code DIRECTOR to receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash. New comers, definitely check out the offer on screen. It's a great way to support my platform while having some fun along the way. Before we do kick off, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. Small amount of time you guys take just to like, sub, bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into it. Lights, camera, action.
Who's got it better than us?
Into the end zone, Charger fans are witnesses to history.
Your Chargers offseason first look at OTAs. Let's talk a little bit about what transpired in the first off-season training and what to expect from some of the guys that we're hearing storylines from, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, by the way, before we do forget, small announcement. Sim Sunday should be making a return this week, and if you guys don't know what that is, it's where we sim the entire season on Madden. We update the rosters with rookies and the entire league and all that kind of stuff. It's a good time. If you guys need that itch scratched for Sunday football, Sim Sundays is certainly not a bad live environment to come scratch that itch, and we'll be live this Sunday, time TBD. All right, let's start off with our first talking point. And first thing that Chargers fans are going to get really excited about, I've been hearing a lot of questions like, how does he look, Director? What is the speculation? Of course, you're not going to know everything to start things off. OTAs, is just barely scratching the surface of what you're going to see in off-season programs. But it does offer some look on the inside. And Naji Harris, man, he's definitely teasing with some of those nice skills on display, dude. I think honestly the thought of what he can offer the offense from the outside, the X receiver position is really exciting in terms of like completing what the Chargers need on offense. First spark of excitement I think we're going to talk about is a clip of Justin Herbert. You guys, if you're on X, you've seen it. Of course, man, I wish we could show everything on the channel. I really do. But, man, sometimes we get slapped, and it's a big pain in the butt to try and navigate. So just take my word for it and go take a look for yourselves on Twitter, a.k.a. X, and see if you can find some of these clips, because they do give a nice little look to what to expect. And you guys can see them all over my page, by the way. If you go to my page on Twitter, you're going to see pretty much all the clips that we're talking about. But one clip that you're seeing a lot circulating in Chargers fandom is one of Justin Herbert hitting Naji Harris on a beautiful quick out, which put a lot of his skill set on display, man. Probably the biggest one in that clip was his ability to beat man coverage. He absolutely, I think it was Tarheeb Still, as a matter of fact, who we all know is a very good defensive back in this league already, with a ceiling that he's probably going to continue to climb. We'll talk more about Tarheeb in a minute, but the story here was Naji Harris absolutely leaving him in the dust, getting open, getting 2 feet in, and completing a very, very nice play from Justin Herbert on the outside. That's exactly what you're going to see a lot of from Trey Harris this year. You're going to see him on these simple routes. You're going to see him on the outside playing X, but more so, I think a lot of people are going to be shocked at his route running that we're going to see on display. I really do think that he's more crisp of a route runner than he's getting credit, smoother of a route runner than he's being given credit, and I think you're going to see some nice plays like we saw with him and Justin Herbert. And of course, every wide receiver joining the Chargers is going to get a bit of a boost with Justin Herbert throwing them the ball. Later, Harris also beat Tarheeb on a comeback route, which is his bread and butter. Now, of course, there's a lot of speculation revolving around his actual route run because most of his routes you're going to see are comebacks and curls and stuff of that nature, which is just because he was so good at getting open up top. DBs had to pay extra respect to his ability in that area of the field. So when he came back, oftentimes he was going to be open. And that is something that we did see on display. I think it was Taylor Heineke, the one throwing him that football. And of course, he did get open. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's one thing, too, that kind of confused me is everyone's like, man, he's only good on outs and comebacks and curls. I'm like, well, okay, there's nothing wrong with starting there, right? Let's have some plays and some routes that are go-tos that are going to be, his bread and butter while also building on top of it. Nothing wrong with throwing him a couple of, comebacks if he's already really good at it. And we're already seeing, the evidence of that here in OTAs. But yeah, very early to tell, but Harris could really be the next great X. Another great, a play that was in support of that too was Heineke hitting him on a go route, on a streak on the outside in coverage. That is something that you're going to probably see a lot from him and Justin Herbert. You're going to see, Trey Harris and Mike Williams splitting a lot of reps on the outside. And it's because Justin Herbert loves and trusts receivers in those positions with that skill set. And I really do think that the sky is the limit for Trey Harris, man. I think he can be excellent. We've seen excellent, contested catch grades from him coming in from Ole Miss. We've seen it now in OTAs, him working the sideline. And Justin Herbert is not shy at providing opportunities to his receivers in those positions. So Trey Harris off to a great start. He's one of the shining, players of OTAs that you're going to hear so far. Of course, we got way more off-season programs and days to come, but definitely really cool to see the second-round wide receiver shining. And as a side note, too, we didn't have a slide prepared for him, but I did see some clips of Keandre Lambert-Smith. That dude looks fast and bigger than I expected. I don't know what I was expecting, but he looks like a very capable, fast receiver and one that could become involved in the offense a lot sooner than most of us realize. Let's go ahead and move on to our next column here. Oh, man, the running backs. Dude, all it took, like I mentioned at the top of the show, all it took was one small clip for me to get completely jacked on the idea of what the running backs are bringing to the table. And it was actually a clip of Naji Harris that I watched, just running through pads, standard drill. Wow. This dude's a freaking freight truck, man. He's a freight train. He's a truck. He's a bull. He's all the bulldozing analogies that you can think of, man, because this dude is a big SOB. And he's got so much power behind him that's so obvious that I really do think he's going to help transform the offense in a lot of different ways. He's got some crazy stamina. I don't know if you guys have seen some of his work in Pittsburgh, but it felt like as the game went on, he was one of the only players that was still playing at a very high level in terms of stamina and power. And I think you hear it a lot, in broadcasts. We say he gets more powerful, more energetic as the game goes on. And it really did feel that way. And get small clip, but I can envision, I can see the vision of what Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh and this offense is trying to create just by that small look at Naji Harris. Man, he looks like he's going to be a very important piece of this offense. And I'm not going to be shocked, man. A lot of people, I will say I was guilty of this as well. Maybe looking at Naji as like a one-year thing where it's like, okay, he'll come in, he'll compliment, Amari and Hampton, and then he'll be gone because he's only on the 1 year. No, I think Naji could find second life in the NFL as this complement back with the Chargers in particular, right? You see some teams really hammer out a nice 1-2 punch. You see it all over the AFC North, right? With Najee and Warren You could see a very similar thing in LA with him and Omarion Hampton. And it feels like it would be a really nice touch to this offense that he would consistently find success in, softening up the line, bringing that power game to the offense, and it really feels like finally we're getting pieces in place to execute on this plan that has been, struggling to be successful since last year, just because we didn't have all the right pieces in place. So it looks really nice, man. And of course, Omarion Hampton was the other half of this equation too, dude. Couple of super smooth and nice clips from him at OTAs that just look so impressive, but none more than, I think, a huge pass that he caught. Wasn't sure. I think it was Trey Lance that was actually throwing him the ball on a go route, because it was actually pretty severely underthrown. But my goodness, Omarion Hampton as a receiver, this is going to be one of those things that blow people away by the end of the year, man. Everything lines up in favor of Omarion Hampton really wowing us as a receiver from the running back position. For one, we already saw him do it at UNC. He's a great receiver at the position. He logged some great numbers out there. But two, he's walking onto a situation where, wide receivers going to need to be smoothed out a little bit. You got Trey Harris and Mike Williams and Keandre Lambert-Smith and these guys in position, but it's going to take a little time to get there. Herbert's trust in the running back position, as far as that dump off, that that flat target, the guy to keep the play going, like his trust in that particular skill set of the running back is very strong. And of course, we saw that in the Austin Eckler days. We saw him try to do that with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, not to the very anywhere near the success of Austin Eckler, but he wants to play that way. And Hampton is so dangerous when being treated as a receiver, like we saw in this clip of him running a go route. I imagine it was a wheel or something, right, where he was sprinting down the sideline. He looks like a wide receiver in that clip, man. He looks as good as anybody. He definitely adjusted to the throw, and he found a catch in stride. And once you get him in space, he's so hard to take down. I'm just saying, man, this is going to be a very tough duo for defenses to take down. Defenses are going to hate Naji Harris and Omarion Hampton. Of course, we saw Hampton's speed and agility on display, his catching on display. Mark my words, man. If you're a fantasy football player and you're looking for some nice upside, Omarion Hampton, he's going to offer some very nice upside as a receiving back, as well as what he puts on the ground. I'm going to be looking for him in my fantasy drafts everywhere, of course, as a Chargers fan, but really, running backs I can catch, very valuable in fantasy. I really have a good feeling about Hampton coming into this year doing just that. Next up, we'll bring it back down to earth here just for a second, because there is some pretty big news circulating around the league in regards to the Chargers left tackle holding out at OTAs. Now, to be clear, these are voluntary workouts, right? So nothing to really panic about quite yet. And honestly, it doesn't really have me worried too much at all. This is a very big contract that's in the works. It feels pretty standard to me that it would take some time and that he wouldn't work out in the meantime. Of course, he's on his fifth-year option. But there may be even some personal reasons behind the deal not being done. There's some things happening in the background of Slater's life that may take some time to sort out. I won't put that on display in my videos. But you can look it up for yourself. There's some things happening in his personal life that may warrant a little bit of time needed to get this all hammered out with his agent. And I think, all the better. I'm not worried about it at all. I think the Chargers definitely going to make him one of the highest paid, if not the highest paid tackle in football, which is very much so deserved. And I do expect it to get done any day now. And if you guys are wondering what those numbers are going to look like, I would expect them to be just south of a 4-year, $80 million contract, or I would just say maybe just under $20 million a season, which is very fair. It's going to be, a premium price, but from a premium player, and I wouldn't worry too much about it quite yet. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll make sure that we're on top of it if something does develop outside of that. But right now, I'm just not that worried about it. Next up, another storyline that's definitely heating up: the DBs. Looking sharp out here, man. It's going to be an awesome battle for a lot of different positions in terms of DB this season. We'll start off with some clips of Tarheeb Still, right? There was a few clips of him displaying his catching skill set, which is awesome. Of course, we saw him with the 4 interceptions last year as a late round rookie. That's amazing, right? And I feel like he's just getting started. You see him working out and you see him in OTAs. It's very easy to see why he had so much success in his first year, and it's not, a blip. It's not an accident that he had such a good year. He's definitely working hard, and he's going to continue to build on his game last season. And you saw a couple of plays in OTAs that were in support of that, including, I think that may have been the pick that we saw, but we also saw maybe another interception that was almost brought in that he ended up tipping into the hands of Denzel Perryman, which was pretty cool. So Tarheeb's still looking great, but there's so many other players on the field too that we got to keep an eye on. Dante Jackson had a really nice play, breaking up a pass meant for Brendan Rice. We also had a couple of plays from the 7th round rookie in Traqueezy Bridges. Man, this dude, he looks huge. I'm going to say that right off the bat. Like, that is a giant DB out there with some pretty decent speed behind him. Man, if Jesse Minter can work his magic on Cam Hart and Tarheeb Still, I would be very excited if Traqueezy Bridges, which I'm hoping that we're pronouncing that correct, Traqueezy Bridges, I hope that works out, man, because if you're looking for a huge, tall, fast DB, the dude checks all those boxes, and it's really easy to see why he was selected in the 7th round as a project player. He would end up with an interception in OTAs as well. And it was a pretty head-turning play from what I understand, too. I would be very excited to see his development, man. If you hit on a 7th rounder, man, that's pretty exciting stuff. And the DB position, yeah, it's going to be one to watch. Jesse Minter is going to have a very big influence on this group, and you're going to see guys overperform. That's probably the most appropriate way I can describe this position group last season, is that they overperformed, and it looks like we're kind of heading back in that direction, because you got a lot of DBs on this roster fighting for a spot that should be seeing some good opportunity. Of course, we saw Still and Hart, and I'm sure Jackson's going to end up being one of those top 3 DBs for the Chargers this year. I'm pretty high on him, as a matter of fact. But there's other names like Jasir Taylor that you're seeing, and Benjamin St. Juste and Dean Leonard, and of course Traqueezy Bridges that we talked about. All these guys in OTAs were very heavily rotated, which tells me that they are doing their due diligence. The Jesse Minter effect is in full, a rotation right now. And in terms of full rotation, you saw very much, or I should say a whole lot of rotation from all of these guys in OTAs, mainly revolving around where Derwin James was lined up, right? You see Derwin everywhere, up high, in the nickel, in the box, whatever. Depending on where he was, you had different guys coming out. Everybody played outside. It looked like Still was at his most lethal in the nickel. But it really does offer maybe more depth than we're expecting, and more performance on the outside than we're expecting. I'm excited to see how this all shakes out. If Jesse Minter can go 2 for 2 on years of helping this particular position group overperform, I think we're in really good hands, at least while Jesse Minter is sticking around, man, which we're hoping is for a while. But this also opens up competition for the safety position as well, man. With Derwin James moving around as much as he does, and with how much the Chargers, utilize backup safeties, you're going to see a nice competition from a lot of these guys. We heard about R.J. Mickens making a really nice play, or I should say a nice read on a play, and he's a guy that I'm very high on in terms of value from the late rounds. Of course, you got Elijah Molden, you got Tony Jefferson, Jalen Jones. All these guys are names to watch for backup safety, who are dudes that, again, in OTAs, even this early, might give us a clue as to who could be the guys to watch. Speaking of watchers, sideline watchers, just as a report here, you had a few players on the sideline like Cam Hart, Dan Henley, Dean Leonard, Elijah Molden, Lou Grimm. All these guys maybe working out off to the side as they treat, some injuries or so. Cam Hart probably being the biggest one that everybody was wondering about. He did have surgery back in January. He is expected, at least the hope is, that he's going to be ready by mini camp. So just a heads up for everybody wondering who's on the field, who's not. That's what we're looking at right now. But if you want to get to something more exciting, man, look, number 15 is the real deal, dude. Lad McConkey. If you're looking for big plays, look Ladd's way, man. There was one huge play that absolutely took, all the headlines and everyone's talking about. It was a huge pass by Justin Herbert on the sideline. Ladd McConkey running that streak on the outside, and what ended up happening is that Ladd tipped the ball with one hand and ended up tipping it to himself, coming down with the catch in coverage. So one of those bobble plays that looks a lot, like you have to have maximum concentration to bring in. There's Ladd McConkey in display, man. His big playability. I think he's just getting started. You're going to see more stuff like this as the tempo picks up in the offseason as well. I remember being there too, dude, man. In training camp, I was sitting front row in that very first play. I don't know if you guys remember where Ladd McConkey jumped up in the air and he kind of contorted his body and twisted one way to put himself right in front of the football, and he came down with it. Oh, dude, I was screaming, I was yelling. You can hear me in all of the clips. It was actually put on Pat McAfee as well of Ladd McConkey's big play. Seeing that right in front of me in person was spectacular, and I promise he's not done doing stuff like that, man. Ladd's a beast, and we're going to see more of that as the offseason goes on. But I also wanted to shine a light on number one a little bit too, man. Everybody's writing off, and I think for good reason. Trey Harris is already turning a lot of heads, but everybody's writing off Quinton Johnson. In this segment, Quinton Johnson strikes back. We did see some nice work by Johnston, who's, again, going to be often overlooked this season. But he did look solid. It's really tough because I feel like the trust in Johnson is so shaken that no matter what he does, people are going to write him off, which, again, I get it. And we're hoping that he can put all of this, monkeys on his back behind him by the actual season, by putting up actual plays and holding on to the football. And so far, all we can say is that he looks solid. But I think what's also interesting is what the staff had to say, right? They feel that he is much improved in pretty much all facets of his game, that he's a different wide receiver than he was last year. And honestly, year 3 has historically been very good to wide receiver, especially in the first round. So do I think he can bounce back? Can he perform to that first round caliber that everyone was expecting? I can't write it off, man. I really can. I'm rooting for Quinton Johnson, man. I really, really am. Because if he can really step up, I mean, him, Trey Harris, and Ladd McConkey are a very good trio on paper. If Quinton can catch up in his third season, which I really do believe in him. So we're rooting for you, number one. As another side note, Brendan Rice, a lot of you guys rooting for him as well. He caught an awesome ball by Justin Herbert. It's a clip I saw on Twitter. Definitely go out and check that one out too. Who knows what's going to happen with Rice? Kind of a crowded wide receiver room all of a sudden. I think at very minimum he looks like a really good practice squad guy, but we're waiting to see more. Because again, at practice, or I should say at the training camp last year, I saw Brendan Rice many times in person make some really, really spectacular plays. So we're hoping to see him continue to develop in year 2. All right. Finally, last couple of things to look at. Interior offensive line still looks like a work in progress. They have Zion and Bozeman and James, all these guys working at center, which is, I think, probably the biggest position all Chargers fans are hoping to see improvement at. I will tell you that, Zion Johnson did get some work at center, but he's primarily been working out at left guard. Bozeman has been the main center as expected so far. And if you guys are wondering about Andre James, he hasn't gotten much work at center yet with the ones, which is definitely something to watch. But I still think that there's a really good shot that he picks it up in this system and competes for starting reps with Bozeman and those guys. But we saw a lot of different work, or a lot of different combos at the offensive line. The main one that we saw was actually left to right. It was Sawyer, Branson Taylor, the rookie, Bozeman, Becton, and Alt, which was definitely interesting. Carson Barnhart also got some work at left guard with the ones, which is probably in preparation if Zion Johnson moves to center and maybe Bozeman doesn't work out at guard. Who knows? But they're trying a lot of different things, which in the end is good. We hope that the interior looks good, though, man, because you got some big boy running backs that would love to run a lot this season. And then finally, the last thing I'll mention is the edge players. I can't quite tell who that is. I think that might be Kennard behind Khalil Mack in this photo, but that's exactly what I was looking for, is the edge rotation. We only saw a small clip of this, but you saw Mack, I think it was Tooley, and of course Kyle Kennard in rotation there. Not much to work on in terms of the clip, but it really does look like the rookie is acclimating very well, soaking up the mentorship from Khalil Mack. A lot of talk about Khalil Mack this offseason too, about how he's leading, different workouts, about how all these guys coming into this program are very impressed with Ben Herbert and his workout regime, and how he likes to handle that part of football operations. And it's awesome, man. So I don't know. I think the Chargers off to a really, really good start. You guys let me know in the comment section what you think and what you're excited for, and what mainly we should keep our eye on, right, as we continue. My most anticipated storylines of the offseason are going to be the run game. I think first and foremost, I think that run game, you get that going, you're looking at a completely new Los Angeles Chargers in 2025 that's going to be very hard to stop. I'm looking at Trey Harris, obviously, mainly the wide receivers, but I'm also paying very close attention to the interior defensive line and interior offensive line. Those two units, I want to see some wow factor. Like we saw at the top of the show, I really do think Tierra Tart could be that next guy, that next storyline of like, wow, he came out of nowhere, just like Puna, and had a really good year with the Chargers. I'm looking for that on the defensive line. I'm looking for that on the offensive line. I think Mekhi Becton, of course, offers you the best upside. But maybe another guy like Andre James or Barnhart or Taylor could also pop for us another position in the interior on the offense. So lots of potential. We're very early in OTAs, but very fun to speculate and start getting some early teases as to what this team could look like come training camp and mandatory minicamp, which is coming up here pretty soon too. So keep an eye out. We'll keep you guys updated, but so far so good. Chargers looking good, and it really feels like a more complete, cohesive unit in terms of the roster so far in 2025. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. If you like what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time, and as always, bolt up, stay frosty. Go watch that clip of Amari and Hampton on the sideline catch, man. It is a beautiful clip.